1 in 5 suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays
with us.
Yes, and who are we?
Marla!
And I'm Dave. There you go.
Wait, you know what? I have to say right quick. It feels real good to be back in the studio and to have a modicum of rest. I was so spent.
Yes, you were
in
very
Florida.
tired
It was-
last
it was-
week.
it was
I
beyond
felt
that.
bad for you because,
It was
it's
beyond that.
3 hours later. It's just a whole different kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm used to traveling. Marla's, getting up her traveling muscles working.
One sleep aid too soon. It was a whole bad scenario.
Right up front, we want to remind you guys to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 and support our A Dollar Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign.
Indeed. Today, we have we have licensed therapist Doug Green returning
Absolutely.
to Mental Health Monday.
He's a friend of Mental Health Mondays, and he's a friend of ours. There you go.
He has become a friend. He's a very wise and informed man and
And
therapist.
he's helped us both on and off the show.
And today
Thank you.
is very special because we are dedicating today's show with the help of our therapist, Doug Green, to narcissism.
There you go. The truth about narcissism, that's what we're talking about today. Is it really just, my ex is a narcissist? Was he just being selfish from time to time? Or was he he or she a diagnosable narcissist? We're going to find out, and our good friend Doug Green is going to help us get there. Don't
Thanks.
move. You don't want to miss this conversation.
don't.
We'll be right back.
When Dave and Marla get together.
Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI San Fernando Valley believe it doesn't take much to make life a little better for our neighbors, coworkers, friends, our family members, even our children who suffer with mental illness. When you support our A Dollar Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign, you are doing your part to erase the stigma surrounding mental illness. For just $1 today, or $1 a day for 1 week, just $7, we can look forward to a future that does not include the unfortunate and uncomfortable stares, bullying, and the subsequent isolation that our loved ones who suffer with brain differences deal with. Text the word GIVE, that's G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 to donate. A dollar today keeps the stigma away. Brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI San Fernando Valley.
We're already in the chat room. Natural Born, thank you so much for not only the liking but the sharing. And he says, let's get it. Oh, it's already been gotten.
If it's a competition, you lose. Marla wins. Anyway, welcome Doug Green.
Hey.
Thank you.
Great.
And welcome back to the show. I was about to say, I thought that was the cue for the applause. The audience was a little late getting in today. So, Doug, we have a quandary. Everyone is talking about narcissism, and everyone is saying their ex. It's always the ex that was always a narcissist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So can you just open the show, please, as a licensed psychologist, tell us the definition from a clinical definition of narcissism.
Okay. So one very specific thing here is there's a big difference between narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. There is no clinical definition of narcissist. If you think your ex was a narcissist, go for it. You're probably right. It's fine. There's another thing in the diagnostical statistical manual, DSM, called narcissistic personality disorder. That is not
now
about
that's diagnosable.
Yeah, the NPD.
Yes, and that is not about being conceited. That is about something that impairs your life in a terrible way, and what it comes from is a narcissistic wound. Something that wounded you so much, probably as a very young child, that you end up seeing the world in a very particular way as all about you. it's not a happy thing. What we picture, the happy narcissist running around,
bragging all the time,
bragging, looking in the mirror,
Look
hey,
at me.
Check me
I'm
out.
looking fine, all that. It's not that. It's the person who, whatever is going on, thinks, why are you against me? Why is everybody against me?
So the constant victim
They're victims.
is really the NPD, the narcissistic
It's
personality
victim,
disorder.
Or something good happens, it must be about me. And
I
no one's
caused it
giving
to
me
happen.
credit for it, man.
Ah.
I'm not getting enough credit for the Rams winning the Super Bowl. Well, I'm not on
Because
the
I
Rams.
chose the color, right. It
Right.
could be various
Because
things.
I'm the best fan.
Exactly.
Because I look at the TV without turning away on the commercials.
Or in my case, I'm a Chiefs fan, so it's even more ridiculous. But yeah,
I don't know.
you got this whole problem that is really painful and a terrible thing, where you look at the world in a way that things are attacking you, things aren't giving you enough credit. Everything is in this really tough place. My best way of describing it is to say, I'm very upset about the situation in Ukraine. I'm saying this is true. Why am I upset? Well, there's a compassionate part where I hate seeing people
suffer.
hurt and all this
Yeah.
destruction and all this terrible stuff. And then there's a more intellectual side that says the geopolitical issues. Where is this leading? What are the
Right.
ramifications
You're
and
analyzing,
everything?
right.
What I don't do is say, why hasn't Zelensky called me because I gave $1,000 to their cause? And if he doesn't call me, I'm not giving them anything more.
Wow.
And why is Putin doing this to me? Now,
Right.
I got
What does that have
nothing
to do with
this.
you?
I'm
not
suffering
Ukrainian.
because I dislike what's going on in Ukraine. So Putin must be clearly doing that to me.
To bother, yes. And
His
that-
motivation is to get me.
Right.
Wow.
And so that's where you see the real thing. So that's different. Again, I'm not denying the fact that we know narcissists.
Yeah.
A narcissist is, who thinks they're all that, thinks the world owes them something. all
Sees
that.
everything
Right.
through their lens.
Yeah. But
Or it's
you
all
can
about
be
me. And by definition, a baby would be a narcissist.
Yes. Well, they talk about that, infantile narcissism. Because you haven't.
Wait, hold the press, Doug. Did you just say there's such a thing as infantile narcissism?
Yeah, but it's normal that we talk about that you move out of a phase of that.
Oh, that's
as
a
you
phase
start-
that everyone goes through.
Yes,
I was
right.
about to say.
Because when you're born,
That little narcissistic baby.
it's literally all about you. You don't even recognize the
How could it be
otherness
about
of
anything else?
of your mother. It's just
Yeah.
she's a part of you. You're everybody. The
Everything's
doctor's
a part
All
of
your
you.
needs, right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then you grow out of that with more awareness. Hopefully.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question.
Yeah, okay, go
No,
ahead.
you go. This is cool.
Oh, 'cause I was saying that
we need
now-
to draw
when-
straws.
So when you said you grow out of it, hopefully, that sort of implies to me that someone who doesn't grow out of it might also, over time, develop that pathological wounding that you described,
Yes.
and they can't grow out of it.
And let's say everybody grows out of it to some degree, otherwise
Yeah.
you couldn't function
Yeah, exactly.
physically in the world. But the people who stay somewhat in that mindset, it can be that. It also can be charismatic. I know it's all about me. I walk.
I'm
into
the only one who can
club.
save the country.
Well, there's the most famous case we have, and I'm the only one who can do it. And people say, "Oh, he's got narcissistic personality disorder," and I say, "No, he doesn't.
Wow.
He's benefited enormously from this." And if he
So his
goes
life
down-
isn't hampered. He doesn't have a negative life experience
minute,
based on his
wait a minute.
narcissistic
No, if he goes down, it's going to be because he's a crook.
characteristics.
It's not going to be because he's a narcissist. That's actually really
Wow.
helped him.
It hasn't
Same-
debilitated his life. It's
same
benefited
way-
his
Wait,
life.
wait. Stop. Back up.
Wow.
Both you and Dave, back up.
Okay.
We just
Defend him,
No.
defend him, yeah.
I'm not going to even defend him. But so you're saying it's not because of narcissism, but are we saying that we could just from a distance? Let me say this on Doug's behalf, as far as you can say it for yourself. I know that it is not in practice to diagnose anyone that you have not treated. Let's say that.
Right.
But just from your clinical observation from a distance from here to the White House, my question
The
is
former White
the
House.
former White House.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you feel that he is not? Because you're saying that he benefited from narcissism. Are we saying he's not a narcissist?
I'm saying he's complete narcissist. I don't.
Oh,
but I think
that's not.
but
That's
But
not
he's
the
saying
issue.
he doesn't know if he's
He doesn't have-
diagnosable as narcissistic personality disorder.
Right. I think there are other diagnoses I would throw in, and I probably shouldn't do that in
Right,
public
exactly.
for him. But after the show, I'll tell you my
I,
theories.
well, I already know. I have a list right here that I've observed as well, and I'm not even a therapist, but I
But
play
I will,
one on
I will
TV.
argue every successful politician is a narcissist. You couldn't do it without it.
Most entertainers, you have to have some type of narcissistic characteristic.
You got to have some of that. And if you, let's say, join an a cappella singing group, you don't automatically have half the world hating your guts.
Right.
It's going to be kind of fun
Yeah,
to join
exactly.
an a cappella singing group.
Right.
Only
You
your
become,
church.
You become president, at least half
Half
the
the world hates
well,
you.
I'll say more than half the world, half the country, and probably 3/4 of the world hate your guts from day one. You better have a narcissistic ego to be able to handle that. And
I see what you're
that could
saying.
be
The a cappella singer
more-
doesn't really have to have I see what you're saying, Doug. Now I'm with you.
Okay.
You don't need that much. You just need to be able to walk up there and say, okay, my voice might crack once, and I can
Right.
take it.
But I'm still better than you. No,
Yeah,
I didn't say
exactly.
that. I didn't say
You're a
that.
better singer than me.
Okay, so now let me jump right in with this question.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the which you did a brilliant job of helping us understand the root of narcissism.
Thank you. You're feeding my narcissism when you say that.
Well, because you know the in the very beginning that there's a wound.
Right.
What I'm going to ask you is narcissistic personality disorder ever a personality disorder that someone can have without the wound? Does it always come from being wounded?
I think so. It always is always a tough word, in our field.
Yeah, it's pretty
anything in
absolute.
the scientific realm.
Yeah.
But I would say it's hard for me to imagine there not being a wound. You can go into theology or mythology and say we all have wounds.
Sure.
You can say the wound happened because of the Garden of Eden. The wound happened because of whatever. But I think it.
But yeah, because when you say the word wound, I believe most of us think about a blatant trauma and incident. And we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
when
I want to dig into that a little bit when we come back. We're going to deal with that narcissistic wounding.
Yeah.
As soon as we get back, it's already good, you guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave.
Oh, it's not the poll time, everyone. There we go. While dealing with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the United States is also facing a worsening substance use crisis. More than 1 in 10 adults have reported starting or increasing the use of alcohol and or drugs to cope with the stress of it all.
According to the Kaufman Family Foundation, deaths due to drug overdose also spiked during the pandemic, primarily driven by opioids.
Early in the pandemic, there were reports of some state and local programs decreasing funding for substance use services. Other reports have highlighted treatment centers limiting their patient capacity, while some centers have completely closed altogether.
If you or anyone that you know is dealing with a substance abuse or substance use disorder, please seek professional help immediately. Remember, you're not alone. This message is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
So I encourage everybody today to put their questions in the chat room, and I'm gonna always try to make sure they get their questions answered.
I was going to say that Marla is monitoring the chat room there,
And,
right there on the YouTube page.
So there's a question and also a comment. The comment is, these three are fun together, love it, and insightful. The question is, do narcissists enjoy being hated?
Wow. I will say some do, including the one we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume they enjoy the attention on them,
They enjoy the
regardless of whether it's
attention.
negative or positive.
Because if you know enough, you know that hate is not the opposite of love. Indifference is the opposite of love. So being hated means, as you say, I'm getting attention.
Yeah.
I'm eliciting passion.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cool.
Ooh.
I think I'm thinking
I walk
enough
in that
of
nightclub and there's that gorgeous woman over there and she hates me. Ooh, I'm hot.
You know what,
Yeah.
Doug? I'm glad that you said that, because I remember ex-girlfriends that I would have that would say that they hated their ex, but they loved me, and I was like, you are so passionate about your hate for the ex that we're always talking about the ex. We're not even going to the movies and talking about what we like. We're always talking about your ex. So clearly, the ex is dominating some space in your mind that has no room for me.
Was there
That's
anybody
right.
in your
It-
life
it-
before me? Am I a narcissist?
Unfortunately,
Well,
there
in
were
first
others.
grade. First
Yes,
grade, you know,
yes,
little holding
My
hands.
teacher hated her ex-husband in first grade.
This is not funny. Get it back.
That's not even a good
Bring it
joke
back.
these days. I apologize. So, Doug, let's jump back into the narcissistic
the wound.
wounding.
Yes.
Could you
Okay.
describe a couple of circumstances that might produce a narcissistic wounding?
Sure. And I'm so glad you guys brought this up, because in one scenario, sure, there's the awful thing that happens, that you're raped by your uncle, something just terrible.
Yeah,
It's
the
one
worst.
simple thing that happened. You watched your father shoot your mom. Something that's so
So
awful,
traumatic, so traumatic.
an extreme trauma that anybody would have a terrible thing. Terrible
PTSD at
situation.
least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and lifelong
Yeah.
shifting of things. But it also can be what we like to call death by 1,000 paper cuts. And it can be that it wasn't one big thing, but your parents were a little shaming, and they were always putting you down. They
We're always correcting.
always correcting, even though that is a parent's job, but they were doing it in a way that
It had
took
no
you
balance.
down.
Pinprick.
There
for
was
you.
no praising balance with the correction.
could be that. Could be the other side is it could be the mixture, which we hear of a lot with children of alcoholic parents or drug addict parents, where they're getting mixed signals all the time. That can be a huge wound. Even though there's not one big, awful incident. It can be that wound is there. And the big thing that I like to push on people is that shame is very related to narcissism. Both of them say, I'm awful or I'm great, whatever. It's still me. It's very different from humility or healthy pride. So, I'll throw in there and say I've been dealing with shame issues a lot in my life. I do not have a single horrible incident in my life. It's just a bunch of stuff. And I come from a really nice family of really great people, but stuff is there.
Yeah, right.
And,
I was telling Marla
grade
today.
school's rough.
Marla and I, we were driving around doing some errands today, and I listen to therapeutic shows all the time where the people call in and ask therapists for advice. And I heard for the first time today that a parent needs to, from time to time, especially as your kids get older, don't even have a suggestion of what you should do with your life.
Don't advise.
Just talk about the person and build the relationship without advice, without saying you did something wrong.
Connect to the heart.
Not saying that this is what you should do, but just say, hey, you know what? How do you feel about that? Just let it be about that.
It's pretty great when it's an issue that's not about safety, especially.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I realized even for myself at that time that one of the incidents that we had with our youngest daughter that I had, Marla and I were out to eat with our youngest daughter, and she basically came into the car and said, you know what, I feel like I'm always having to try to be better. And I'm like, wait a minute, I had no idea where it could possibly even be coming from.
She started crying.
Because
and
I
Dave
was like, wait, I've never put you down one time. She was like, yeah, but you're always telling me what I could do better. And I was like, wow, I should listen to that. And I had to learn from that. You know what? Even when I want to give advice, there are certain times where I say, you know what, now's not a good time. Let me just let it be about whatever she's saying.
Which is great.
End of story.
Right.
And the other thing I'll throw in, you've probably heard this term before of good enough parenting, that there was a time, sort of the 50s and 60s, when they were saying, "Oh, you should have totally permissive parenting. Allow your kid
no
to do everything."
spanking.
No, nothing. You just let a kid
yeah.
be
No,
who
no.
they're going to be, whatever it is.
And they realized eventually that didn't work. Created
Yeah.
miserable kids. So then you say, well, we got to go back to the old, Germanic method of beating the hell out of the kid, whether
Spare
they did
the
anything
rod.
wrong or not.
Yeah.
No, that didn't work. And what is this guy, Donald Winnicott, this British psychologist, came up with the idea of actually the best thing is kind of mixed signals. And because that's what life is going to offer.
Exactly.
And if sometimes you're completely lenient and sometimes you come down a little hard and sometimes you don't even notice, the kid's going to struggle.
But they
they're
have to
gonna
figure
be-
out their own way through that versus this is the only way.
Right. Whereas if you're only negligent, they learn the world doesn't care. If you're only mean, they learn the world is cruel. If you're only lenient,
Permissive,
yeah, they learn
And
the
there's
world.
no boundaries. They just do what they want.
Right. And we know that's not going to work out terribly well.
Right, exactly.
So it's actually the mixture.
We have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is a really good one. It'll shift our conversation, but it's a good shift. Can a narcissist admit that they are narcissist?
Oh, I think, again, I'm saying narcissist versus narcissistic personality disorder.
Narcissistic personality disorder.
I remember seeing something, I wish I could remember the quote exactly, but Bono, the guy from U2, making some comment about what a narcissist he is and how he knows it, sure. And, I'm a lead singer of a band that's
Pretty popular band
At a
at
time,
that.
the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm the most famous philanthropist in the world. Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he was very open about it and laughing about it.
He was humble with his narcissism.
Okay, so I'm confused.
Yes,
So
exactly.
So here's what I have to know. Here's what I now am beginning to understand. There's something you said in earlier in the show, and I'm plugging it in with what you're saying now. Narcissistic personality disorder also possibly when there's certain behaviors that we're seeing in conjunction with another diagnosis that may be understood or not understood looks a little bit different. Is that what? In other words, what I'm saying is, like you're saying that he's saying that Bono says, yes, I'm a lead singer, I'm all these things, and I'm a narcissist. But what about the narcissistic personality that hurts people? Like there's this wound is so deep that they're blindly, without empathy, literally hurting others.
Well, and that's
and never taking responsibility. They never say it's me.
sure.
Is that a narcissistic personality disorder trait, or is that something else?
Well, it sounds more like sociopath. When you're saying that having
That's
no
what I'm
empathy,
saying.
no awareness.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The person who just never can say, hey, I can be much. But the person, so I get it. So
I think I can ask the question in a slightly different way.
Okay.
Is there a narcissistic characteristic to just about every personality disorder? Versus, say, schizophrenia is not a personality disorder.
Right.
It's a brain difference, literally.
And all the personality disorders, we all can relate to all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
to some degree.
Have you ever been paranoid? Have you ever been
Absolutely.
Histrionic? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So we can all do it. Again, the disorder is it impairing your life? Is my life impaired by my narcissism? No, it's really not.
That's the benchmark. Does it impair your life?
Yeah, and that's where
Wow.
any of these things goes. And so I think that was bad grammar. But
hold that thought, Doug. We're gonna come right back and we'll answer some more questions. We'll be right back.
okay, thanks.
All right, now Marla is going to actually, she's got a little shimmy, a little vibration. Woo! There she goes. That is the pole dance for this week, and we enjoy it. Marla, what was the poll question last week?
Wait. I'm
All right,
so
boo,
disorganized.
you missed it. The poll question last week was, what percentage of Americans have a diagnosis of schizophrenia? Now, our guest last week was Jamie Denbo. And did she get it right, Marla? You're better at remembering these things than I am.
Jamie, I know you're watching. And I would like to say, in my best voice, I don't think you did.
Ooh, well, your options were less than 1% of Americans are diagnosed with schizophrenia, 8% or 13%.
I think she said. I think she said 8. I think. Don't quote me, Jamie. Don't meet me in the alley.
I think 8% was right. And boo, Jamie, you did not get it. Now you're a great writer. You're a great producer on one of the greatest shows ever created. But the answer is less than 1% of Americans.
And there's the poll question. Then there's that.
Yeah. So Doug, this one's for you. The poll question for next week is: what is the average delay between onset of mental illness symptoms and eventual treatment? Is it 1.5 years of a delay between onset of symptoms, 5 years, or 11 years?
Well, as a therapist, I'm going to say that's a really funny question because who says when the onset happened if it's not right away?
Okay, we don't need
Now
your sidebar.
That's a good way to hedge your answering there,
sure
Doug. I
is.
appreciate that. I would do the same thing, to be honest with you.
Of these 3 choices, Douglas, which one?
1.5, 5, or 11.
I'm going to say it's 5 or 11. I won't say 1.5. I'll say. Man, again, it's such a nonsense
you're
question.
not going to lose your job or your life, so just pick one.
Well,
and we'll still love you.
But I'm going to lose your respect.
No, I am going to.
We'll call you tomorrow morning, Doug. We promise.
It's just a guess.
Man, I'm sorry. I know we got no time, but I'm going to say 11.
All right, so we'll find out next week if Doug, the licensed therapist, was correct. We'll be right back.
Okay. You've already pretty much answered one question. The question before we went to the break that was on the table is, where is the line? And then the other one is...
Well, let's before we move on, we can answer that quickly because I think Doug clearly stated that the line is if it causes debilitating effects or impairs your ability to have a decent life.
The line for the personality disorder. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Somebody says, so the trauma that this person has had feels that they need to be in control in order to be in control because they weren't in control during that trauma. So is it like a residual control effect? So they didn't have any control.
So overbearing parenting.
Now they have control, so they feel like
narcissism.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's even limited to narcissism. That could be just PTSD.
Yeah.
You could be somebody who needs, you were attacked on the street, and so you don't walk down the street unless you have a big dog with you and brass knuckles and whatever else.
Ready to fight.
But that doesn't make you a narcissist.
Okay, one more. What if the traits of behavior don't impair the narcissist's life, but does negatively impact others around them? Is that also a sign of a narcissistic disorder?
No.
Wow.
No, that's a sign of being a jerk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so what we're learning.
No, wait. APD. Asshole personality disorder. We just came with a whole nother thing.
That's right. We don't have to censor our language here, do we? Okay.
Can you get that in the DSM for me?
Well, I'll put it to you like this, Doug. One thing that I'm really grateful for today is that we've sort of debunked the whole diagnosable narcissism with narcissistic personality disorder, and just people who want to focus on them for whatever reason, good or bad, from time to time.
Are we? What's wrong with us? Literally, what is wrong with everyone here? Hannah? What is wrong with us, including you? Did we really think that we were going to succeed successfully in a 30-minute show with Doug talking about narcissism? That's the silliest thing we've ever done.
I do think that we have boiled down.
Somebody said, now I'm really confused. Because they said,
what? I think you should be. And I think you should be confused because I think we throw that term out there so flippantly.
Natural born, I get it.
Exactly. Is that, from time to time, just because we're upset and the other person seems to be winning the argument doesn't make them a narcissist.
I'm going to have to clear the schedule, and I agree. The passionate one says, please, we have to have a part 2, because this is, and you have to be the one because you got to continue this conversation.
I'd love it.
because
my narcissistic side just loves being on camera.
Doug, he's our man.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So, Doug, give us some parting thoughts of wisdom with this subject.
Absolutely. Which is, again, specifically for the people who have the wound and say, what do I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go with it? There's a great psychologist named Alfred Adler back 100 years ago who said the highest thing of mental health is called social interest. Jumping much more modern, I'm a big fan of Gregory Boyle, the priest who works with gangs in LA. And his last book said that from his point of view, the answer to sin is connection. Sin is the lack of connection. And the answer to sin is feeling connection with other people. And all of this, if you are feeling this narcissistic wound, if you're feeling trapped in this, just try connecting more.
Wow.
Try connecting more with others. It is where mental health lies.
The answer is not removing yourself from relationships.
Absolutely.
It's diving in a little bit deeper.
And however you do that, and maybe it's just with your dog.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing at all.
A dog always gives back.
And you know what? The topic I'm going to leave with Francesca Fowles. When we come back on the next episode, we'll open with this. She says, "What is the difference between narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder?" Hold that thought. That's going to be where we start up.
As usual, the conversation is amazing. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
You know what, Doug, where can people find you if they want to actually dive a little bit deeper with you?
You could email me if you want, Douglas Green, MFT, like Mary Frank Thomas, @gmail.com.
There you go. You've heard it. You know what? He's helped us. He can help you as well.
Oh, no. His email's about to, oh, no. We just made sure he'll have time for no more poll questions. Doug, thank you for joining our show.
Indeed. See you guys next week.
Bye. See you guys next week.
Thanks.